Morning, everybody. It's a little bit after 10 o'clock. We're going to call the meeting to order for today. And if you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here today, virtually and also in the room present today. We do want to extend the opportunity, as we always do, for public comment. Would there be any public comment at this time? Okay, seeing none in the room, seeing none here on the phone, we will then go to our meeting minutes. And we did not meet last week due to Election Day. It's been a quick week, but we do have minutes from 2 weeks ago from our October 27th meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes from the October 27th Board of Commissioners meeting.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 The motion is carried. Okay. Under our COVID-19 planning and response, we will turn this over to Margaret for a contract with AMI, and we'll discuss this in detail. Margaret.
Yes, thanks very much. As you know, we're into the third week of our testing site being run by AMI at the Nittany Mall. We've been averaging around 125 tests per day. I've received many comments from a variety of individuals talking about the ease of using the site and how what a great resource it's been. So the question at hand today is whether or not you've paid for the last three weeks through the CARES Act funds, and the question at hand today is, do you want to extend the test site for any future weeks? And there are several different combinations. I put this Excel spreadsheet together because there are a lot of numbers here, and I thought it might be easier if I provided this for you and I can talk through what this looks like. So our current contract with AMI is for $258,911, but that was based on a average daily testing of 300 individuals. So the number of tests is lower, and that means that we will have an adjusted total contract with AMI of $220,241. I did work with the AMI folks to put some numbers together for additional weeks, and you can see there are options here for an extended week 1, a 2, and a 3. But within that, there are also there's an option for expanding the day. AMI believes that it would be beneficial, if you're interested in pursuing additional weeks, to go with a 10-hour day. They think that they're missing people who might be inclined to come to the site after 6 at night, and their experience in other locations is that the 10-hour day does capture more of the people needing tested. So you could opt to not extend at all. You could opt to extend for 1 week and no longer. You could look at a 2-week or a 3-week extension. We have talked with the Nittany Mall. They're willing to allow us to stay in that space. Space has worked out extremely well for us. People have had no issues finding it, good signage, a little bit. So if you were to look at an extended week 1, the additional cost, if we adjust for what was already allocated that hasn't been used, would be $35,000 for an 8-hour day and $37,456 for a 10-hour day. I worked this through the 5th, if we look at a 3-week, through the 5th of December due to the Thanksgiving holiday, because they would make some adjustments around that Thursday, Friday, because their staff are from out of the area and probably not high testing days there, so they would make some accommodation. We would switch the days around a little bit.
So what's the cost for 1 week for an 8-hour day?
So without applying what we've said before, the cost is $73,703.
71,000.
$73,703.
Let's say 73,000. Divided by 675. I guess what I'm trying to figure out, like, for some reason it's not coming up, but what is the cost per patient we are experiencing? And it's a significant number.
So it's, the way to figure that out would be to say an average of 125 tests per day times 5 days, and then take that number and divide it by the cost of the week to get the cost per person. You have to remember there's a doctor on site. You know, it's a team of people who are here to administer the tests. The second page actually is the itemization of the costs and how they get to the 73 or the 76, so you can see exactly what their costs look like. They have worked these numbers with me a couple of times to try to get them down as low as possible, and the numbers for the extended weeks are predicated on 200 tests per day, not 300. So.
200, not 300.
Mhm.
Right, okay.
Somebody that has a working computer maybe can help me here. So if I'm 73,000.
Yeah, if that's just 73,000 divided by,
125 times 6.
yeah,
So 125 times 5, so that would be
625.
625.
73,000 divided by 625.
Yeah, I know, I'm just,
Yeah, correct amount.
for some reason this isn't coming up.
Oh,
Right. My calculator isn't working.
Actually, if you're dividing 73,703, you have to base it on 200 people a day, because that's what this is predicated on, not
Sure, right, it would be
125.
less.
Right, so
That's what I'm coming up with is if, yeah,
do
that's.
200 a day?
I did.
Do 200, because that's what this is based on.
$116 per.
So 200 times 5 is,
1,000.
yeah,
Divided by 1,000. Oh, so 73.
yeah.
Yeah, 73. So 73 at the contract rate, but in terms of the true, if we're looking at what the actual test has been, it's about $115, $116 a day, so.
But they reduce the 73,703 if we don't use the tests.
Right.
So you have to account for that.
My sense, I mean, in terms of, so just a question in terms of how much advance notice do we have to give them? So for example, it's the 10th right now.
72 hours they need.
Okay.
And right now, they're being asked to go other places, and they're being asked to put teams together, so they need to know soon here if they're going to stay.
So our current construct is their last day of testing is the
Saturday.
is 14th. Okay. I think from my level, I am comfortable doing another additional week at 10 hours to see how that goes. And, oh, go ahead, please. No, please. Yeah.
No, I actually agree with Mike.
Oh, sure, sure. And my last point was going to be that on the 19th, we have a Thursday meeting on the 19th. That would provide us enough time to give them a heads up for starting the Tuesday, the 24th week. And so to say we'd like to continue or not continue. So I think if we would, I'd be comfortable green lighting a 10-hour day for that next week, 17th through the 21st, and then kind of regrouping on the 19th, and that would again give us more than 72 hours of advance knowledge.
They're very willing to go on a week-by-week basis based on assessment of community need and what you think that you want to put forward for this.
I just want to ask one question. When is the last day of in-person classes at Penn State?
I don't know the answer to that.
I think it's right before Thanksgiving.
Because I think we need to have, I think we need to continue it up to that point. That would be my thought.
Well, and also to allow local citizens to get a COVID test, a few days before they leave for Thanksgiving to see loved ones, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah.
That would cover that.
I also think after the Thanksgiving holiday, when there's a lot of travel and gatherings of different sizes, so there's going to be, but 1 week at a time.
Yeah, but I think that week, if we take it to that point where we provide opportunities for people who have concerns and maybe visiting vulnerable family
Yeah.
members, I think that would cover it.
I would agree. It's looking like the last day. There are no classes starting on the. I'm seeing different calendars here, but I would.
Some they updated and some they didn't. I checked into that too.
But I would think that and I also would be just personally comfortable with, we do have the resources available due to some municipalities not spending all their totals, due to some other categories of funding that we haven't yet funded. That second week as well, the extended week too, I think, again, on the 19th, we could touch base on that, or even the 12th. I mean, we're going to meet on Tuesday. We could also look at that as well. But I think it sounds like we have the green light for a 10-hour testing days for the 17th through the 21st at this time.
For 1 week.
For 1 week, yes. Yep. And then we could revisit weeks 2 and 3 at a later time.
Well, when is Thanksgiving? What date?
The 26th, November 26th.
Yep.
Can we ask him what it would be to run it right through that Friday? Or no, I guess you wouldn't want it Friday. Thursday's Thanksgiving, so.
Right.
At least run it through that additional time frame until like Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving.
I think you may, I mean, from the idea of people gathering on Thanksgiving, it may not be a bad idea to even look at the week after, because that would be sort of the final week after students have left, we've gathered for Thanksgiving, just to get anybody tested, and then, you know, obviously you're going to wait until Christmas.
Okay.
But, I think it's a wait and see.
And if you were going to do that third week, it works well with a Thanksgiving holiday, because instead of doing a Tuesday, Saturday, they could even consider doing Mondays, and to get the days in there. They need that second week to sort of adjust the days around, because they're not going to be there on a Thursday or Friday.
So it sounds like for today, unless there's any other discussion, that we'd look for a motion to approve a 1-week extension of the contract, November 17th through the 21st at 10 hours per day. But is there anything else you would need with that, Margaret? Is that?
No, they will write up the contract, and I'll bring it in on Thursday, but if I can give them that green light today, then they know that they're going to keep their team here in Center County.
You find one?
Yeah,
Good.
sounds good.
Okay, great. Okay. All right, yeah, please. Yeah.
Motion to approve a 1-week contract extension with AMI, Expeditionary Healthcare, based on option B of 10 hours per day, extending the contract to the 21st of November.
I will say.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. As stated, any further discussion, comments, questions from anybody?
My only comment would be that I think we need to have, if we're going to utilize this for another week, we have to extend it out to cover the Thanksgiving holiday.
I would agree. And if there's, room or play in terms of their schedule, that might be helpful as well. If we could shift dates, or whatever their willingness would be, that would be, and you mentioned that already, Margaret, but maybe they could give us some, or you could put together some more finite options in terms of what those days could look like. I don't know if they would recommend us testing on Thanksgiving.
No,
that's.
They, no,
Facility's not even
yeah,
open.
no.
yeah. The medical personnel have families too.
Black Friday
Yeah.
is Black Friday.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
So we had talked about the center being closed on Thanksgiving and that Friday, because,
So shifting those dates around, okay. All right, so we have the motion, the second, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried, okay. Thank you very much, Margaret, thank you. Okay, still staying underneath COVID-19 planning and response. Our next item is our CARES Act funding, specifically for nonprofits here in Center County. And we will invite Mary Kay to the podium, and we'll also be joined on the phone by Molly Kunkel as well. So good morning, Mary Kay. Good morning, Molly.
Good morning. Well, we have great news this morning. I'm presenting to you a list of 107 nonprofits from Center County. The eligible nonprofits that will be receiving grants for consideration and approval are nonprofits that were 501c3 or 501c19. Much like the Small Business Grant Awards, they were calculated based on revenue decline or expense loss for the time frame from March 1st through July 31st of 19 to also to 2020. We really kept it just like the small businesses to have it a very fair and equitable process. We use the same formula for all nonprofits. We just try to keep everything kind of standard and fair. And we are very, very grateful to have partnered with the Center Foundation Center Foundation does a lot with grants, so we went back to them because they have a lot of expertise on that, and they facilitated the grant application process. And with that grant application process, there were 6 categories that we are presenting to you, the commissioners, to fund. Health and Human Services, which includes behavioral and mental health, first responders, any emergency services providers, arts, culture, and community benefit, recreation, environment, and animal welfare, K through 12 private and charter schools, and just in time for Veterans Day coming up, also organizations who are supporting veterans. So beginning at noon today, every eligible nonprofit, once approved by the commissioners, will receive an email today from cares@centercountypa.gov stating the award amount. They will need to read this email and electronically sign it and return it back to us. As the Controller's Office, Jason Moser has been a really dynamite help to process checks. They've already been entering in W-9s, but please be patient. We're still catching up on some of the small businesses. The entire nonprofit list and press release will be on our website beginning at noon today, as well as when the letters will go out. And I'm going to ask the commissioners if you have any questions, and I'm also going to invite Molly Kunkel, the executive director for Center Foundation, is on the line. Just invite any comments or anything or questions that the commissioners may have before I move forward.
Okay, thank you, Mary Kay. Molly, we'd welcome you to make any comments at this time.
Okay, well, thank you. First of all, I do want to say a big thank you. We were really honored to be able to work with the county on this. It's going to be a huge benefit to our local nonprofits who are really providing enormous amount of services and benefit to the community, but are struggling like many of the for-profit businesses. So we really appreciate your willingness and the opportunity to help get this grant out to people. As Mary Kay said, there were 107 grants being made. We had a total of 110 applications. So there were 3 applications that were just not eligible, organizations that were not 501c3s or 501c19s, which was, again, we were pleased that we were able to get that out there and didn't have a lot of confusion there. So, and I think it's very well represented. As Mary Kay talked about the different sort of buckets of grants that we served a whole variety of sectors. About 40% went to health and human services. About 35% went to the arts, culture, and community benefit. And again, that's not just arts benefit, that's also community benefit and includes things like historical societies, libraries, general benefits to the community organizations. About 11% went to recreation and environment and animal welfare. About 12% to the first responders. And these are not the amount of money, I just want to make clear, these are the number of applications that we got. 5% of the applications were K-12 schools, and about 3% were for veterans organizations. So it's a really nice spread across all those sectors, I think. It also is a nice spread across the county. Of these organizations, they represent organizations that serve at least or are based in 24 municipalities across the county. So they're really spread out nicely around the county. It's not all focused in any particular area. So we were pleased to see that as well. So, that's just a little bit of detail. We have lots of other detail, again, and I'm happy to answer questions, but mostly just wanted to say thank you again for the opportunity and for providing these grants to our local nonprofit.
Molly, thank you very much. So we are so appreciative of all the work the nonprofits in Center County have done throughout the pandemic, even prior to the pandemic. And the hope is with these financial resources that we can allocate out, that it helps them just weather the storm a little bit better. But they're continuing to do amazing work, from fire departments to our human services. We partner with many of these organizations, and so we do know that the need is there, and so we were eager to help, and the team came together to make it happen. So we appreciate it, and also to note that The Center Foundation does have other funds available, and so there will be potentially other rounds. Molly, or have you concluded with that funding stream?
We've gone through the first 2 rounds of that funding stream, and there is a 3rd round coming, and that will be coming out later this year. That'll be a little bit more focused on kind of looking towards the future and helping organizations sort of adjust to whatever the new normal is when we get a little bit. So that'll happen in the next couple of months, and people can certainly watch on our website, on the Center Foundation website, for more information. But that will probably start that process in December.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Molly. Thank you again, Mary Kay. Everybody else, we appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, wonderful job. I think our model of working with outside organizations that are subject matter experts in their field has been working out very well. The Penn State SBDC for the small businesses, and now Center Foundation for our nonprofits. Great to hear that these nonprofits are located in 24 of the 35 municipalities in Center County, and that it was quite spread out. I think for small businesses it was 27 out of the 35 municipalities. Great to see our first responders on here. I know they've been working very hard, but they still have expenses, and the chicken dinners and shrimp boils and all of the other fundraisers aren't bringing in quite as much money as they used to. So very happy to see that we're helping out our fire companies and our ambulance services. The list contains, because roughly the first time we've seen this, the list contains a broad variety of Center County charities and nonprofits, pretty much a who's who of Center County. I know from research that there's probably approaching 300 nonprofits in Center County, but some are very, very small. So this is probably most of the larger and medium-sized nonprofits in the county. So again, thanks to Molly and her staff for doing a significant amount of this work, and thanks to Mary Kay, Margaret, Natalie, Jason Moser, our controller, and his staff, Colleen Kennedy and the treasurer's staff for doing a huge amount of extra work here. And Chad Joyce. Keep forgetting about the computer and IT people in the background. Chad Joyce and RBA as well.
Well, I guess I'll make my comment short. I think we thanked everybody who's part of the team that made this happen. Again, Mary Kay, thank you. But I also, when you look on here and you see like the Grange Fair encampment, it's just, you just look at all the things that make up kind of the fiber of Center County. The Youth Service Bureau, Friends of the Pennsylvania Military Museum. I mean, it literally is a who's who of the folks that make our county click. And to keep those organizations vibrant, I think is incredibly important for the folks here in Center County and regionally. And these are also the ones that often provide the entertainment and the tourism potential for our area as well. And when I look at, obviously, I think most of us have a soft spot in our heart for animal welfare, and those folks have been recognized in this, but also our human service, the entire human service sector, and emergency responders, not to mention the schools and the other folks. Again, make it all happen here in Center County, and I really appreciate the fact that those organizations were recognized here for their losses, and we make a small contribution to make them a little healthier and hopefully survive this year more effectively.
Absolutely. Well, we would then, at this point, to make it official, would look for a motion to approve the grants and the agreements.
Motion to approve the grant allocations and agreements with Center County nonprofit organizations.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Comments? Any questions for Mary Kay? Please, Gary. Yeah.
Are there any other groups to distribute money to? You've done the businesses. Do you have any other distribution programs?
Currently, we really don't. We're looking at, we've worked with the small businesses, then our nonprofits, municipalities, school districts, and now our nonprofits. So there are some other things that were still in the works, but for the most part, these were the largest and broadest categories. And everybody's been doing recognition, but we really need to recognize the Board of Commissioners, because not all counties are being as fruitful to the whole county as the Center County Board of Commissioners, so I've really appreciated working with them because they have a very kind of plentiful, abundant notion to try to give out to the community. So I appreciate your attitudes toward that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mary Kay? Okay. Thank you again, Mary Kay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your help.
So we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay. For our contracts, we will welcome up Lee Schaefer to discuss with Johnson Controls. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning. Thanks, everyone. So today we are asking to add to the consent agenda a contract renewal with Johnson Controls Fire Protection System. This will be a 3-year renewal, $13,600 annually, total of $40,800. And this will consist of a inspection, testing of our fire protection system at the correctional facility.
Okay. Thank you, Lee. Any questions for Lee? Very straightforward. Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to add the contract renewal with Johnson Controls Fire Protection LP to next week's consent agenda.
Okay. It will be moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
And Lee, thanks again for you and your staff for everything they did during the election, the rovers, the setup, the tear down, the whole fleet of rental trucks. It's amazing to see every year.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, it's not just showing up at the polling places. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes, and you folks, yeah, definitely. So, appreciate that. Absolutely. Yep. And I will share that with the guys. Yeah.
And all the late nights tearing it down after November 3rd.
Yeah. A lot of work goes into it, preparation and afterwards. So, I appreciate those thoughts, and I will share them with the staff.
Thank you again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So for our next items, Natalie Corman will take it away for the Human Services. Good morning, Natalie.
Good morning. So I'm going to bounce around a little bit with children and youth, but you'll understand why. So contracts 1 and 2 are finishing up our fiscal year July 19 through 2020 as services came into place for some of our youth that we needed to support. These contracts came through for that, and so we're just finalizing those up. They total $16,981, with the county share being $3,396. So contracts 3, 4, 7, 8, and 12 are all specific to residential services. So these are for our children that are in placement with us that we need to provide residential support and services to. Those contracts total $412,566, with the county share being $114,027. So then contracts 5, 6, 9, and 10 are support services for our for those foster children, the dependent youth that we do for a variety of different needs that they might have. So those services total $315,733, with a county share of $63,147. And the final contract, and Commissioner Dersham actually mentioned them earlier, is with our Center County Youth Service Bureau. So Center County Youth Service Bureau is a partner with our Children and Youth Office. They provide residential or independent living, counseling, a variety of services specific to that dependent and delinquent youth population. That contract total, as you can see, is $1,462,629, county share being $240,588. So these are all for the current fiscal year, and as we know, we're still awaiting that final budget from the state. However, these are the services that we need to provide. It is our obligation to it. We had already put these numbers into our needs-based plan that has been approved. So other services, you could see some adjustments being made to if a budget cut would occur, but really placement services are the main priority of ours, as you know, in children and youth. So that's why our contracts are written out this way this year.
Okay. Thank you, Natalie. Any questions for Natalie on those items for CYS? Comments? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to add the Children and Youth Services items 1 through 12 to next week's consent agenda.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried.
So I have 3 contracts on behalf of the MHID office. Really, our first one is for our early intervention with UPMC Home Health Care. That contract totals $8,333, with a 10% share of $133 for the county. And then the other 2 are with Pyramid Healthcare, and also with Crossroads, specific to a variety of drug and alcohol services that they do for us, primarily outpatient, case management, MATP. They also do certified recovery services for us under Crossroads Counseling. And so those two providers, Pyramid's contract being $16,670, Crossroads being $72,917, with quite a bit of it being funded through federal and state dollars. Only a very tiny share of county under Pyramid's contract. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. Is there a motion to move those three to next week's consent agenda?
Motion to add the mental health, intellectual disability, and early intervention, drug and alcohol items 1 through 3 to next week's consent agenda.
Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. The motion is carried. Okay, thank you, Natalie.
I don't think Faith's on the phone. She is? Okay, then Faith is there.
Thank you very much, Natalie. At this time, we'll welcome in Faith Ryan for this next item for the Adult Services Office. Hi, Faith.
Good morning. Yes, I'm here. Thank you for your time. I'm here just to present, and I apologize, I just hit print on my printer. I'm sorry for the background noise. I'm here to present our grant for PHSA Fair. We had just done a commitment letter recently, so this is the grant agreement now that we've gotten all that paperwork in. So this is for $18,000 that will go towards our Fair Rental Assistance Program, and we're expected to start that in January of 2021. And this also, I believe we have about $34,000 in Act 137 match to go along with it.
Okay, thank you, Faith. Any questions for Faith on that item? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, is there a motion to move forward the grant agreement?
Motion to add the grant agreement with the PHFA to next week's consent agenda.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. The motion has carried. Thank you, Faith.
Thank you.
We have today's consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve today's consent agenda. Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any
You
final?
are the last party in the conference.
Is there any discussion on our consent, further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. The consent agenda has been approved. Okay, so we have our liquid fuels items, and we're going to turn it back over to Margaret.
Yes, thanks very much. The item for approval today is a payment to Half Moon Township in the amount of $55,000 for the widening of Smith Road and drainage upgrades.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the Half Moon Township liquid fuels payment? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the liquid fuels payment for Half Moon Township.
Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you, Margaret. We'll move into Administrator's report. Anything to announce?
Yes, I just wanted to share with you, and this goes along the lines of liquid fuels, but every periodically so many years, the Pennsylvania Department of the Auditor General conducts an audit of our liquid fuels program and now our fee for local use program. It's been running about on a 3-year cycle, and we were just audited by that Department of the Auditor General for years 2017, 18, and 19 for both of the programs, and there were no audit exceptions. It was a clean audit, and I wanted to just point that out to you because a lot of work goes in behind the scenes on this, not only from our planning office, previously Mike Bloom and now Ann Mesner, but Tom Martin in particular does all of the financial work, and he was the one involved in these audits. In front of you is, just so you know how many projects and the dollar amounts we're talking about, over a 3-year period, there were 24 projects funded by the liquid fuels allocations, and 2 projects by the fee for local use. That totals $603,470 for liquid fuels and $1,146,357 for the fee for local use. But I thought it was noteworthy to report that the audit did take place. It was for a 3-year period and no audit exceptions. Good report.
Excellent. That's great. Great news. Thank you. Thank you.
And the other item I have is just a reminder that at noon today there will be a joint session of the State College Borough Council and the Board of Commissioners to receive the report from the Task Force on Mental Health Crisis Services. This has been a long time in coming. The task force has worked diligently, as you heard Dr. Best present a few weeks ago, even during this period of more challenging meeting times and so forth. But the report's finished and ready for presentation to you all today, so that's at noon.
Very important work. We look forward to hearing it, being a part of that. Thank you,
Yep.
Mark. Okay. We have no discussion items today. We're looking at a check run, and we'll turn it over to Commissioner Higgins.
Sure, this normally would have been a very small check run, but the total check run for this Thursday is $1,040,715.73. And I wanted to highlight that just today, there are 25 businesses, small businesses, in the check run report who will be receiving checks of $342,500. And last Thursday, we mailed 202 checks to the small businesses totaling $2,821,616. The reason why most of the rest haven't gone out yet is these grants are taxable to small businesses, so we do need a clean and completely filled out W-9 on file before we can mail the check to the appropriate businesses. So as we talked about, this has been the largest grant in the history of Center County government in 220 years, and it's going to our small businesses. I would encourage citizens in Center County to visit your small businesses. We've got Small Business Saturday coming up very soon. If we don't support our small businesses, people from other states definitely aren't going to. So let's remember to shop local whenever we can. So would like to make the motion to approve the check run dated November 6th.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the check run. Any further discussion, comments on the check run? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay, no CNET request, no recognitions today, but anything to report from the voter registration front?
Not voter registration, but I think, as we all know, over the last week, we've worked very diligently to continue and complete the count for the general election from November 3rd. We, I believe, are very much on track at 3 o'clock today to continue and complete the voter count and the ballots. I think there might be a handful of overseas and military ballots to count, and I believe there's one more, I think it's just one provisional ballot that needs cleaned up. So we were very close to getting things taken care of. We did our 2% test count yesterday, and I believe it came out very well. So again, congratulations to everybody who has made this happen, and it's included everybody from our facilities management to everybody in our office and the elections office and folks throughout the community that have worked very hard to make sure that we have an effective and accurate count occur. So hopefully we'll wrap that up today.
Absolutely. And just to echo that as well, is we're going to have about 1,000 people across the county who made the elections happen, from our staff, our maintenance office, finance for purchasing equipment, our administrator Margaret Gray, solicitor Betsy Dupuy, who are here in the elections office or here at the Willowbank building, fielding calls from all over around the county for matters of importance. We had a great team in place and really pulled off a great election. And just want to take a moment to extend our congratulations to some of the folks who appeared on the Center County ballot. And just for our state representatives, they are all returning for the next session. So congratulations to Representative Benninghoff, the majority leader of the Republican caucus in the House. Also to Scott Conklin, a former county commissioner who used to sit in this very room as a commissioner in the 77th district. To Representative Rich Irvin, who is out of Huntington County, but a portion of his district extends into Center County, and he's in the 81st district. Also, Stephanie Burowitz in the 76th district as a Clinton County resident, but still has territory in Center County. And staying with her district, the Miles Township residents, the voters of Miles Township, approved quite handily, with 79% of the vote, a liquor license referendum in Miles Township. So at least not forget that. So things are happening in Miles Township when it comes to a liquor license, and that's going to support, again, small businesses, other nonprofits who rely on that revenue. So at the federal level then, we had Representative Glenn Thompson, who is a Howard resident. So congratulations to GT. Also Fred Keller in the 12th District. Congratulations to Fred Keller for his reelection. Also at the state level, it looks like Attorney General Josh Shapiro will return, so congratulations to Mr. Shapiro. And then Timothy DeFore as Auditor General. Congratulations to you, Mr. DeFore, in joining the Auditor General, as Auditor General. The Treasurer's...
County Controller of
Is that right?
County.
Is that right? Oh, really? Okay, okay. So we congratulate Mr. DeFore, and he doesn't have too much of a commute, I guess. There you go. So there you go. And the Treasurer's race, it looks like that's still not called yet, so we'll wait to hear on that. And then last but certainly not least, so congratulations to our President-elect, Joe Biden, and Vice President-elect, Kamala Harris. 4 years ago, we extended congratulations from this table to President-elect Donald Trump and Vice President-elect Mike Pence for their success and working in partnership with Pennsylvania and Center County. We do in the same spirit 4 years hence from that date today to extend our congratulations to Mr. Biden and Ms. Harris. So with that, any other comments on the elections? Yeah.
Again, would like to thank the nearly 1,000 Center County residents who worked very hard, some just on Election Day, not counting the training beforehand, but others worked for weeks on this. Thinking of a couple of people, there's yourself, Commissioner Pipe, former co-chair of the Elections Committee of the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania, and the election staff, especially Jody and Tish, who probably worked 12-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week for several months now to make this happen. I have a broad variety of friends who work the elections as either judges of elections, minority inspectors, or just poll workers. This is a huge effort. We go from having 500 and change employees to 1,400, 1,500 employees for a single day. And we mentioned with Lee, we ran an entire fleet of trucks for 2 weeks before and immediately after the election to move all the equipment around. Our audit, 2% random, nailed it. No difference between the number of votes. And Commissioner Pipe, you wrote a broad variety of procedures on how to handle some of the new portions of the new law, and I know some of the other counties were sort of copying that and cribbing it from you. And of course, Commissioner Dersham's worked very hard as chair, making sure that all of the wheels flow properly and that everything is counted, as I think you mentioned, effectively and accurately. So just want to thank everyone for a huge amount of work, but we're in the home stretch. We'll count the last couple of votes here starting at 3 and maybe going, depending on when the mail's delivered, a little after 5. So thanks again, everyone. Great job for Center County.
All right. So, and again, polls open, I think, in about 6 months for the primary. So it doesn't, it's right around the corner. So, okay. So, I know. All right. So we do want to announce that tomorrow our offices will be closed, courthouse as well, for Veterans Day. And we encourage all of our citizens, residents of Center County, to take a moment to thank those who have served. And any executive sessions, Margaret, that we'd have to discuss? Okay. Okay.
Oh, one other thing.
Please, yeah.
I think today is the 245th
I think it was 200.
birthday of the U.S. Marine Corps.
There we go.
Yes.
So, happy birthday to the Marine Corps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so we do have, again, our meeting at 3 o'clock for the elections, probably staying in session until about 5 o'clock, maybe a little after. So we do have opportunity for questions from the press. So
I'll go.
Sure,
So
please.
you might talk about this in your meeting later on, but we saw that lawsuit come out yesterday from the Trump administration, which named Center County. Are those 3 claims going to affect the remainder of votes to be counted this afternoon? How is that going to affect your counting going forward?
our focus, and again, this isn't, unfortunately, it's not the first lawsuit we've seen this year when it comes to the elections process. I think our focus is making sure that we finish out today. We see if there's any recounts or potential recounts, but just keeping our eye on the ball from that standpoint. Since there have been previous suits naming a multitude of counties and other circumstances, we already have sort of a network of solicitors and legal apparatus that we've been working with. So the assumption is that, and we do know that our solicitor's been in contact with them, and they're looking at all their options. But again, we have a 5 p.m. deadline. We need to get our official results in. That's the focus as of right now. Sure.
Is there a certain date that you would be notified if there's going to be a recount?
Tomorrow, yes. So defeated candidates or automatic recount noon tomorrow, and then the secretary would by 5 o'clock tomorrow, Wednesday, would let us know when that recount would begin.
What's the protocol if someone out of state comes to a Center County precinct and wants to vote, but they're not on the poll book? Are they issued a provisional ballot if that happens?
Depends on the circumstance. So you're saying we can't find them as a registered voter?
Yeah.
The-
And let's say that they're not a Center County resident, but they show up at Center County poll.
So the essence of a provisional ballot is it makes sure that anybody who comes to vote is at least, they can cast a ballot, but then there's a strict verification process. So in that circumstance there, if somebody's not registered in Center County and they vote a provisional ballot, it's not going to count.
But they could still be issued a provisional ballot at the poll.
If somebody is not, if their name is not found on the polls and they just say, I think I'm on the polls, I think I should be here, a provisional ballot would be an absolute opportunity for them to, again, cast a vote, but it would not count.
And let's say that someone was issued a mail-in ballot, they changed their mind, took it to the polls, wanted to forfeit it, signed a declaration. What happens? What's the protocol with those mail-in ballots? What are the poll workers supposed to do in that scenario?
Sure. So they were given a blue bag. It was the former judge's bag until we needed to get a larger bag. But during the training we did 3 trainings for poll workers. They essentially would put that spoiled ballot and the declaration inside that blue bag, zip it up, and then bring that and return that election night. And so that was the protocol that the judges of elections followed.
And then they would receive a regular ballot at that point.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
And this is a question for the whole board. Looking back to a week ago, wrapping up today, do you have faith in how Center County handled its election? Was it safe? Was it secure? Did you have any issues? And are you confident in what you guys organized?
Yes.
Yes.
There were if we had more time, which is not an option, you do have to balance the need for our staff to rest and to recuperate during the process, during the grueling, I would say 2-3 weeks prior. If there was more time, I think we could have gotten to more things. But I do think that given the time we had, given the resources we had, and we had much more ample resources than previous years, we were able to pull off something that I think a lot of people thought that wouldn't be possible. I think that's true for all counties across the state. We did the absolute best we could do. Going back, there may have been a thing or two that we could have done in terms of the provisional ballot process, making that a little. We had new envelopes with provisional ballots. I think with the vote-by-mail processing room, it was the first time we were doing that. I think there could have been things that we did a little bit more smoother in there. But I think, again, given all that we had, pandemic, historic turnout, I think we did the best and really exceeded expectations.
My overall impression is that it went very well. Some of the angst that I have includes some of the direction that was given to us at the last minute from the Department of State. I think we should have had a little bit tighter protocol in place and maybe some direction as to what the do's and don'ts need to be, particularly in the ballot room. I think as we look back and I look forward, I'm going to try to look forward here. As we look to improve these processes, I would almost assure you that there will be much more stricter guidelines in place as to what our guidance is for particularly the poll watchers and watchers in general. But overall, I think we did the best we could given the circumstance. I think we need to improve on a number of things, but overall, I do believe I think it was a fairly accurate count.
And just finally, results reflected on the county's website, what do those include right now, and when do you expect they'll show the full unofficial results with 100% ballots included?
Sure. So those are reflecting our count up until last night. We finished, I want to say it was about 5 o'clock-ish, maybe a little bit before 4:30. But that includes all the ballots that we've counted and approved the count and ran through the DS200s that were around the room. As Commissioner Dershowitz mentioned, we still have a provisional ballot. We have the military overseas ballots that will be sent in by 5 o'clock today. We will be opening and processing the mail-in ballots that were received after 8 o'clock by the USPS, but received by the Elections Office by 5 p.m. on Friday of last week. Then we also have another category of naked ballots that were opened up in the vote-by-mail processing room, but voters also voted a provisional ballot. So we are still segregating them per a Commonwealth Court order, and so we may or may not be looking at those today as well. But that represents less than 200 ballots total. So that's still the outstanding ballots that we still have. So it's reflecting, I think, a little bit over 78,000 ballots cast. So again, it'll increase by potentially upwards of 200 ballots.
So looking back a week later, in terms of future elections, would you use the system you set up, or do you think this is a one-time thing?
Is this specifically for the vote-by-mail room? We do have some equipment that did arrive the day before the election that we could look to utilize to streamline the process a little bit more. I think it's a balance between involving a number of individuals in the room, really having democracy spread out amongst as many people as possible. When you have more individuals doing it, you have less likelihood of fraud or issues, because if you have one person doing it and it's running through them, they could make a mistake. But if you have it spread out, as we did, about 100 different people, it reduces the chance that there's some sort of issue. So I think there's benefits to that. We are compiling a list of the supplies we had and the materials we had. All of the materials we can utilize again. The Penn Stater was a great partner. But I do think that there is obviously some issues we had with social distancing with the pandemic. So in May, when we have the primary, we'll see what it looks like. Can't predict what that's going to look like. But I think the fundamental portions of how we opened, how we extracted, how we scanned, those will always remain the same due to the fact that we have paper ballots. But and also we had, I think, 9 out of 10 people who worked in the room on Tuesday and Wednesday said, I'd love to do it again. So we have that as well. Also, we had hundreds of new poll workers across the county at polling locations. And so I think it's keeping them engaged in some way, shape, or form. So even if we don't do the vote-by-mail processing room, I think those people are eager to work the polls on Election Day. So however we do it, I think the big thing is making sure we have an open, transparent, accurate process, but then also keeping the people who are excited about the democratic process engaged. So I think we'll have conversations about how we could do it better. But I think the general sense is, yes, we would still do it in some way, shape, or form like that.
At the Penn Stater, when were the live stream cameras turned on, and when were they turned off?
6:30 a.m. on Election Day, and then maybe 3 p.m., 4 o'clock in the late afternoon. It's a 31-hour video, and it will be available soon, but the YouTube is processing it still. It's a massive amount of content for them to process. So as soon as that's live, it'll be viewable on YouTube.
Different subject. DOH was in Center County, several weeks or whatever, had a special team. Do you continue to work with them, or still have input directly with them?
We do. We have ongoing contact tracing calls. We have ongoing testing calls with them. They're very eager about the results that we're getting from this site at the Nittany Mall. And as we approach, again, the flu and cold season, there is going to be, I think, more, we're on their radar in terms of a county that has continued spread, high spread. And so we're still on their radar screen, and we're working with them as closely as we can.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, we look for a motion to adjourn at 10:54.
Motion to adjourn at 10:54.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.